My name's Chris Michael. I started Bulldog back a long time ago, and I've been fortunate enough to have some great people working with me along the way. I want to make this a very casual, open, interactive discussion today on social media, and so I brought three people with me that are part of the Bulldog team. In the back, you know, Brittany Tuig Brownfield is back there. We throw in Tuig because mom and dad are here watching her. And Emily Dameron's going to present on Google AdWords and digital advertising, and Craig Davis works with us as an interactive producer. So we all get to work with media and social media in particular. And so if you have any questions, just stop us along the way. Okay. I'll tell you a little bit about introducing Bulldog and what we do and give us some credibility, I guess, on how we do it. We're going to introduce Bulldog, the role of an ad agency in your advertising and marketing, discuss just a very few things about media strengths, discuss media mix and how social media can become part of your advertising and marketing planning, social media and its role in your organization, not in your advertising and marketing, but in your operation, and then the emergence of digital advertising. So first things first, we are a full-service ad agency. We were established in '99. We're an S Corp. We've got 16 employees now. We've got 14 of them are full-time equivalents. We have an office here in Huntington, which is about 2 blocks down there behind Fazoli's on Commerce Avenue. And we recently bought another agency and expanded into the Beckley market. For all intents and purposes, we only have 2 people down there right now. We're interviewing for more people actually today. We perform media management for our clients. We do a lot of research. We do a lot of interference. If you people or a lot of you are in marketing and advertising, you know how many times you get called from media representatives. Well, we work with the media. A lot of times our clients will say, well, just call Bulldog. Here's our rep. Call Brittany. We do a lot of media planning and negotiation. We do a lot of purchasing on your behalf. We do handle billing and administration. As you would expect, we do the things that an agency you would expect to do, things like graphic design, where we design collateral materials. We do a lot of advertising design, a lot of web design, Tracy brought up. We do broadcast production, AV production, a lot of social media, and a lot of interactive advertising. One of the big things that we've done most recently is app development. It's outside of the web development, but it mimics the web in some cases, but it is interactive apps. And we do a lot of planning as well. So we function as an in-house marketing department for many of our clients. We perform project work for many of our clients where they'll come to us and say, hey, we need to do a brochure or we need to do a website, and that's project work. On the flip side of that, if we're functioning as your in-house marketing department, we typically handle it all. We work alongside internal and external customers. So in other words, if you're company, like let's pick on Special Metals. They have a lot of people running around there at different levels of management, employees and staff. We'll do internal marketing campaigns just focused on one initiative inside. Outside of their internal work, we'll do the external stuff that lands in Houston and all over the world. We advise, develop, recommend, and lead. These are sort of the things that we take a look at every day. There's television, radio, public relations, we do promotional work, cinema, advertising. You're all familiar with these things, and we interact with them each and every day. We're here today to talk about social media. Social media is an ever-emerging market. I think we're all familiar with the fact that social media is a player in the marketplace when it comes to advertising, marketing, and communications. You have some pluses and minuses. In most of your social media experiences, you're going to have short-term exposure. You do have color and graphics, which is very important, and AV now in a lot of cases. It is immensely strong in your ability to target. If you want to reach 25 to 30-year-old females that live in Wayne County, that have an income of over $100,000, that own a dog, have a pool in the backyard, and have bought something on the internet, I can tell you exactly where they are, and I can target them on social media. There's numerous platforms out there that we'll discuss. You know many of them: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Pinterest, and others. You have a lot of budget control options, and in some cases you have very little control, but in most cases you have a lot of budget control. Some of the cons are limited message length, and has to be considerate of the relevance to your audience. Obviously, we're never going to tell you or any other advertiser to put all your eggs in one basket, but we are going to tell you that social media and digital media are becoming a more and more relevant piece of your advertising marketing budget. Digital is a little different, or a lot different than social media. Digital needs to be a cornerstone of your planning efforts. Everybody in the room familiar with Google AdWords, or is anyone not? I hope there's some nots, because Emily's going to talk to us about Google AdWords today. It needs to be in your advertising planning. Digital is just like social, that there's short-term exposure and color and graphics. It does have the largest strength in targeting, and you'll hear the words geo-targeting, geo-fencing, spot buys, and the like. There's numerous options for you to sit there and say, how do I want to engage with my customers? How do I want to target my customers? Your messaging can be different across many different boards, but the reality of digital advertising today is that it allows you to reach the consumer that you want to reach. Not like days of old where you would go at a media mix and say, I want to do some newspaper, perhaps some television, maybe a little bit of outdoor. You really didn't know what was going to work until you started throwing some revenue at it. And then in the end, you'd figure it out and start focusing that revenue on those things. But now, with the advent of social media, it has made, and digital advertising, it's made the other forms of media be more accountable for what they're asking you to spend. Like I said earlier, complete control of your budget or very little control. I'll get into that in a minute. Okay, media mix. Obviously, media mix is incredibly important to what you're doing in advertising marketing. It's a compilation of your relevant advertising and marketing vehicles. You have to determine what the proper media mix for you, your company, and your initiative is, and that's why you hire people like us to help you. We've expanded the 4 P's of marketing to the 8 P's, and those new ones become project, problem, profit, and people. Those are all considerate of the promotion, price, product, and place that just needed to be expanded. That said, there's 5 media planning thoughts. The 5 media planning thoughts when you're considering your media mix are targeting, recency, satiation, acceleration, and synergy. The first one's targeting, and what it is geo-targeting and receptivity. Does anybody know what geo-targeting is? Yes, targeting based on location. You plan your interaction with your consumers based on where you want to get to them physically. You can do that now. You didn't used to be able to do that. Receptivity is psychological dimension of response so that you're nearest to the purchase. It works a lot in retail and some other things that's not as strong. Recency is advertising works with consumers when they're in the market to buy, period. You will never find someone, you talk about impulse buying and the ability for someone to go to a marketplace or a retail operation or a professional situation and buy something. But they will never buy it until 2 things happen. A, the value has to exceed the price all the time. And that's what advertising marketing does. That's what salespeople do. That's what image advertising does. And the second one is they have to be in the market to buy it. In an impulse buy, they could be in the market immediately, or they could be over time. That's what recency talks. It doesn't convince people to buy something. It gets them to buy the brand. And then there's another part of that, 2 parts of that actually, skimming. You have no idea where your buyers are at any given time, but you have to let probability pull the trigger. And when I say media mix, that's when you're looking at the different forms of media and you combine them in order to make probability stronger for you. The other part of that is presence, being there at the right time. You have to put the highest amount of weekly reaches your budget can afford. If it's 52 weeks, if it's not, and for example, Karen Tuig's in real estate, she sells real estate all year long. But the reality of it is she's got season. There's season to real estate. There's season to the Huntington Symphony Orchestra back here. I mean, there's a lot of different things you have to pay attention to. Satiation is the law of diminishing for returns. I always like to say that the first beer tastes the best. Anytime you sit down, you're at a dinner or something, the first beer tastes the best. You get decreasing marginal returns for your frequency and concentration, so you better make it count up front. Acceleration is returns based to your continuity. You get higher response to each added week of your advertising. So in other words, you're putting in frequency and reach in a long-term media plan, and you're focusing those two things on your consumers that you've targeted through geo-targeting and the like, and all of a sudden your response gets higher. So synergy is putting all those things together, concurrent brand messages to the same consumer in different media. We once did a presentation where we launched a new company here locally. It was a long time ago. It was a real estate company, but we had everybody go around the room and say, okay, who saw billboard? And I had everybody's hands up. Who saw television? Everybody's hands up. Who heard them on the radio? You know, you got half the room. Who saw them in print? Another half of the room. And then I broke the news to them that we didn't do any radio. There was no print at all. But that's the point. 2 + 2 = 9. When you're doing a strong media mix with strong frequency and reach, then people pay attention to these things, and those things can add up. Okay, so social media. What's next? There's a lot to consider. We put together this monopoly board a long time ago for a different campaign, and there's so many different pieces of social media that you need to pay attention to, and some that just drop off. There's some realities to that too. When's the last time anybody talked about MySpace? Is it still out there? Yep, still is. Is it relevant? No, not at all. Google Plus, it's another one. I'll talk about it later, but how many people by show of hands use Google Plus in the room? 2, 3, 4? Okay. It is a absolutely insanely good platform, and it's a consumer flop, but we'll get to that. So you have all these different forms of social media. You have conversations, you have social networking, which are the big ones, blogging, audio pieces, video pieces, casting, like podcasting, crowdsourcing, and more. And this graphic's probably about a year old, so I would imagine that it's expanded even more so than that. Okay, so a lot of people pay attention to what should I do and when should I do it. So we have to put these things in these kind of presentations. How often do you blog? Weekly or bi-weekly? Is blogging still important? Yes, very much so. Why is it important? Blogging does a lot of different things. A, it allows you to communicate with a potential customer. B, it allows your search engine capabilities in your on your website to go through the roof. People want to see those things, and right now Google's paying a lot of attention to blogging, which they always have. And how much should you do it and effectiveness? Obviously blogging stays up there for some time, but blogging is a one-way conversation. The things like Facebook and Twitter, they're two ways, if you let them be. Now, I think most of you in the room use social media, and you should know that you can control your conversation, but there's some issues with that. I'm not afraid to tell you because they wouldn't have a problem with it. We represent St. Mary's and HIMG. We do most of their work on social media. St. Mary's, if something goes up there that's detrimental, could be considered offensive, it comes down. We take it off. HIMG, they open up the conversation. They have the conversation with them. There's nothing wrong with either way. It's just a strategy that they have chosen to employ. Now, if there's anything that could violate HIPAA laws or any rules and regulations, obviously those things come down quickly. But you have limitations too. And so does anybody know what the best time to post something on Facebook is? Does it? How so?
You can look at times and see when a lot of the people are on.
Right. You've nailed it. It does depend, depending on your audience. If you're going after adults, 1 o'clock in the afternoon on any given weekday is the best time to catch them. If you're going after teenagers, typically about 7 to 8, I believe, was at night at any given time. And like Facebook even throttled back and said, you had to be 18 to join Facebook when it started. And so every kid in America was making up fake birthdays in order to get on there. My kids did it. All right, what's next in social media? It's the connection. It's the ability to connect with your audience. And through that, we mean something as flow marketing. And what flow marketing is it allows you to create an experience with your consumer, and it becomes a service. Communication becomes a service that is provided to your customers or your clients rather than forcing something on them. Good examples of the same are McDonald's creates a mobile website. It allows you to have calorie counts. How many times have we all been in the drive-thru going, God, we shouldn't be here, we shouldn't be here. I don't want that fillet of fish, but I really do. And so I nail it and I look at the calorie counts, and the calorie counts on a fillet of fish is actually lower than a Big Mac or lower than a Quarter Pounder. So I feel better about myself. Am I doing it right? No, but I mean, I still feel good. Lowe's integrates YouTube into their Facebook and allow you to get how-to. It costs people money to do that, but it draws them to your brand. They become a trusted brand because you're using communications as a service. It gives you a targeted experience as well. And social medias allow your consumers to spend time with you, and that's what you want. You want them to spend time. Right now, is everybody in the room mostly on Facebook, in this room on Facebook? Okay, and everybody within the Huntington, Putnam County, Cabell County market? What's one ad campaign you've seen on Facebook recently? And Twitter for that matter, but anyone? Huntington and Bloom? It's a good one. Anything else? Did we do that one? Okay. It's a great one. Guyan Golf and Country Club. Has anybody seen that running through Facebook recently? It's never been cheaper to join Guyan. And so we did a sponsored campaign with Facebook and Twitter that targets people within the marketplace that are above 22 years old with the potential to have stronger incomes and X, Y, and Z belong to a country club. That's what it allows you to do. Flow marketing allows you to have a conversation with your clients. And the vehicles like Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, their advertising interactions are becoming much, much deeper, and it allows you to control your conversation with your consumer. I can go to, for example, the Guyan campaign. I'm going to send them to the website instead of sending them back to the Facebook page. I'm not going to go for likes, but I want them to interact with me. We've done car dealer campaigns where we have sign-up sheets, and they get $500 off the purchase of a vehicle, and I get to capture all that data, which is most important. Social intelligence is exactly that, capturing data, the function of cultivating the intelligence and using it. So anytime you have on your website, sign up for our newsletter, sign up for this seminar, you should be capturing all that data. Put in their address, their phone numbers, their t-shirt size, whatever you can get, because you're going to be happy you've got it. How do you use these social platforms? Again, our monopoly board with all the different platforms out there. Organizational design. This is what I was discussing about your operations. It's important for you to have social media as part of your marketing and advertising plan, but don't defeat the purpose by not letting your employees or partners or colleagues access their social media while they're at work. They have to be able to react accordingly to the conversation. We encourage it, obviously for different reasons, but there's companies out there that say, well, my people can't get to Facebook, my people can't get to Twitter. You're defeating the purpose. As long as you have a policy in place, a social media policy, which are very simple to do. There's many, you can Google it, you can hire us, you can hire Dinsmore, Scholl, Jenkins, Fenstermaker, whoever to write you one, but you need one in place and everyone has to sign off on it. And you have to instill a responsibility in your staff to say that this is a public forum, don't make mistakes. It's very simple. Another part of social media intelligence I always like to point out is Dell has an entire department. All they do is gather data from social media outlets, not necessarily about their consumers, but consumers that are purchasing anything and they can get access to. That's the only thing they do. Flow marketing, communications as a service, reaction to those intelligence became the App Store. How many of you have accessed the App Store today? You know, there's probably 3 or 4 of us in the room and the reaction to social media or flow marketing intelligence was the App Store. Social hot buttons. Many use the Facebook network right now. Many use the Twitter. The Instagram is very strong. Pinterest is where you need to be if you're a homemaker of any sort or you're crafty at all. and they can all support advertising efforts. Twitter makes a big impact with brand marketers right now. It's 140 characters or less, but you can link 1,000 different things. You can put in videos. You can use the network now to advertise what you didn't used to be able to do. I don't think I need to tell anybody anything more about that. You will win or lose your election if you use social media wrong or don't use it. Every presidential candidate, every city council, House of Delegates, family court people have Facebook. They have to. Twitter, you have to have it. Google Plus is a critical success. The amount of information that you can put out there and interact with people on Google Plus is insanely great. But it's a consumer flop because it's too, in order to navigate it, it's very difficult, and the functionality that you have to have is kind of a challenge as well. Social media uses, obviously, public relations is a huge one. You create relationships. You provide ongoing customer service through what I was referring to as the flow marketing. It is a listening tool for you to remove or to review your clients, your consumers, your competitors' clients, your competitors' consumers. Pay attention to those things. All becomes a market research tool. And you have to continue to capture that data. Google Analytics is a big part of your interaction with social media. If you're using any other analytics platform, you're probably making a mistake. Google Analytics is free. It's the most intelligent, intuitive piece out there. Use it. Social media uses. A lot of members of the media, Bill, you referenced social media how many times when you were writing for the Herald-Dispatch? It was one of the first things you look up. Your collaboration with your employees, your prospecting. We have 2 jobs available right now at Bulldog Creative. One is an administrative assistant, for lack of a better word, up front. The other one is an account executive in Beckley. The first thing we do once we receive a resume that looks somewhat interesting is check their social media immediately. I went to April Godby, who was going to hire the administrative assistant, and I said, here's 15 candidates that look great. An hour later, she came back, this girl's a home wrecker. This girl does nothing but internet games all day long. This guy is XYZ, and you make decisions based on what you see on social media. I cannot tell you how careful you need to be with your public persona if you're looking for a job. Joint venture partnerships is another good use of social media. The hospitals right now obviously are top of mind with all of us. They'll be integrating their marketing and advertising efforts with social media through Facebook and Twitter. And like I said, recruitment is another one. Digital advertising is something I don't want to spend too much time on today because I think I'm probably going over. But the ability to advertise digitally is leveraging internet technologies. Your ability to target consumers is very similar on digital advertising as it was on Facebook and Twitter and social media, but digital is starting to outpace your ability to target consumers over social media. I can target you via email. I know exactly where you are and who you are. I can send you video. I can point you to social media. We use, obviously, banner ads every day, all day. Display networks that all of you can go and you're looking for a pair of shoes in the middle of the day at Zappos or whatever. And next thing you know, you're on ESPN checking the score and your shoes pop up. Well, that's display retargeting. It's intuitive digital advertising. It's very, very strong. We have affiliate programs. In other words, we will place you as a client within these retargeting networks that allow you to go out into these different strong networks and put you in there. Search engine marketing, there's 2 types that we need to discuss, and I think Emily's going to discuss what they are, but search engine optimization and search engine marketing are 2 different things. Optimization is free organic growth. It's tactics and strategies used by your web team, your social media team, to push you towards the top of the 2 search engines that matter, Google and Bing. And Google probably 90% over Bing. And the other one's search engine marketing. That's paid advertising. Digital advertising drives sales and return of investment. It's simple. We enhance the effectiveness of your non-digital channels. So in the past, where you had all your traditional channels where if you wanted to sell a home, and I'm picking on Karen again, if you wanted to sell a home, you were in the Home Buyer's Guide, you were in the Home Magazine, You put a Sunday open house out there, and you might drive them to a website. Today, you drive them to a website, and if you do an open house, it's great. You're just getting people walking in. But they're making buying decisions on huge purchases online. Homes, cars, second homes, vacations, all of it's digital. Online media makes other media work harder. And it's very difficult to read. I think some of you could probably see it back there, but the darker one represents online media, and then the lighter one represents no online. If you integrate your online media into your advertising plan, it makes these pieces, the cinema, advertising, radio, outdoor, work harder and become more effective. And I can make this presentation available to everybody, but as I said, the top two you've already heard, advertising is effective across the entire consumer journey. When you, does anybody know what the number is of people or percentage that access the internet via their mobile device today? Any guesses?
90%.
Close. Chris?
95.
76. 76% of all internet traffic is on a mobile device. Wow. On a tablet, on a phone, via your car now. There's a lot of cars with internet capabilities. So it's with you all the time. When's the last time you saw anyone that's between the ages of 12 and 22 without a phone? At a restaurant, at the dinner table, when he's asking for the car, just saying. Digital advertising drives word of mouth too, and that's what we all want. Word of mouth is the best, still continues to be the best form of advertising there is. Referral and word of mouth. Digital advertising drives that, just like others. It drives interaction and it lifts your brand. It gives you, digital advertising gives you a credibility that other forms of media don't do anymore. They did at one time, but they don't do as well. Digital advertising can be more efficient than traditional. It depends on how you put it into your media mix, what type of resources you put towards it, and that means human resources and financial. It is essential to reaching your audience. Time spent in the day with major media, 47% are spending time with digital media these days versus 6 years ago, 29%. TV is going down. Radio is going down. Print is going down. All things other is going way down. Therefore, something's got to take its place. Digital is where you need to be. 8 quick reasons why digital works. Digital drives creative and lists brands. I think this one's out of order. Even more effective than we know, reaching an audience. Yes. All right, SEO versus SEM. Emily Dameron is an account executive with us. She's been with us since July of 2015, I guess. Graduate of University of Kentucky in integrated marketing. And she is Google AdWords certified, Google Search Engine certified, and a professional and a pretty strong part of our team. So I'll give it over to Emily for this part of the presentation.
Right now, the first place they go is the internet, and usually Google. So that's why search engine optimization and search engine marketing are so important, because you want your website to be on the first page and hopefully at the very top, so people don't even have to scroll to get to your website. And Chris already kind of described what both of these are. Search engine marketing is important even if you have an awesome site, it's really optimized and appears at the top, because if you're not there in marketing, then somebody else is going to be. So if you don't pay for marketing, your competitors will still be above you, even if you have a great site. So Google AdWords is definitely the search engine marketing tool. You can put some time into Bing, but most people are at Google. So what it is when you search something and you see the ads at the top of your page and on the right side of your page, those are paid advertisers. The great thing about Google AdWords is that you are hitting people when they're in the information search phase of their buying process. So even though traditional advertising is still very important, you're kind of just putting stuff out there and hoping somebody that needs your product will see it. With Google AdWords, these are people that are searching for something that has to do with your product or service, and they already know they have a problem. So you want to be the first one there that's saying, our business can solve your problem. Something else that's really great about AdWords is that it fits into every budget. You see huge national advertising campaigns on AdWords that probably spend thousands of dollars a day. But I've done anything. I have clients that spend $10 or $15 a day. I've even done it where we only do Google AdWords on weekends. So it really fits into any budget. And you can say, we're only going to pay when people click on our ads, and you can put a maximum cost per click, so you can get tons of impressions but only pay when somebody's actually interacting with your website. So there's a lot of options for how you use Google AdWords, but a basic overview is that it's a bidding process. So you set up all your ads, you say which keywords you want to bid on, and then when somebody searches for something, Google decides if your keyword is relevant to it, and all the relevant keywords go into an auction process. And then who gets the top spot, usually there's about 3 or 4 ads, and the ad position is based on quality score. So that's as well as your maximum bid. So quality score is if your ad is relevant, if it takes you to a site that's helpful. So Google has this algorithm to figure out the position of the ads. But basically that means if you have a really good, really helpful, relevant ad, then you can beat somebody who has a higher bid than you. And also you rarely have to pay your maximum bid. There's another algorithm that Google uses to figure that out that's kind of complicated. But basically you normally only have to pay 1 cent higher than whatever the person below you pays. So it's a very good tool to hit a large amount of people, to get people who you know are interested in your product, and it's very measurable. So you can look at the analytics on your site, see how it's helped your site, and change it as the process goes along.
Display retargeting is something I discussed. Retargeting keeps top of mind awareness very strong and has a very high click-through rate. It is a relevant piece that we program to drop off after a while, so you're not bothered with it depends on your budget. Geofencing and geotargeting is something you've heard as of late. Geofencing is fencing yourself through your competitors. If you're a bank and you want to target your competitors, I can put a 100-yard radius around every one of my competitors' banks in the marketplace and say, when anyone walks into this 100-yard circle or 100-yard square or whatever it turns out to be, we want them to serve an ad. So you're walking up to Community Trust Bank and you're like, whoa, where's this First Century Bank ad coming from? You're traveling to, say, in the middle of Colorado, and all of a sudden you don't know, anything about restaurants or whatever, but I've targeted you through geofencing, and all of a sudden you're looking at your phone and you've got an ad for Joe's Steakhouse and you hit it. Budgeting and expectations are very important in geofencing. It's a little more intensive as far as expectations go and expense goes. It can be. Digital management. The reality of it is if you want to take the time to learn all these forms of digital advertising, all the forms of social media management and the like, I encourage you to do it. Otherwise, hire an agency. Hire a professional in-house to do it. It's very complex and it's very beneficial for you and your company, but I don't want to see anybody throwing good money at bad, and you need to hire a professional to help you.